The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast, coming to you May 8th, 2025. We have a lot to talk about in the NBA. And look who's back from a little vacation from the show after 2 weeks. Mr. Greg Hrinya, our own NBA insider, NBA analyst, author. Greg, so how was your little 2 weeks hiatus from here?
Well, it was a busy work couple of weeks, so I wouldn't say it was a vacation. But
from the show, though, from the show.
Yeah, vacation from the show. So I was definitely missing the show. So since I was missing it, I wouldn't call it a vacation. Vacation implies that I was having
we have a lot that happened since you were on the show. Obviously, we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, we'll do, even though it's been about a week since the first round ended, although the last game technically ended four days ago. We'll give letter grades to all the teams that lost in the first round of the playoffs. I'm going to do a Giannis Antetokounmpo futures draft, similar to what we did with Kevin Durant. What draft the best fits for him should he get traded from the Milwaukee Bucks this summer, which is a lot of speculation that could happen. But first, wow, it's a lot to unpack. It's been a crazy second round so far. Finally, our home team won last night because it was all road teams winning for the first, I think, 7 games or 6 games. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's go old school sports radio here. Panic meter, because obviously the two teams are now down 0-2. The two favorites in the series, that is the Celtics and the Cavs. Let's start the Celtics first, and that's the most freshest game in our mind. New York wins again. The Knicks win again, game 2. Similar fashion in game 1, down 20, late comeback. The Celtics once again meltdown. And look, I'm reminded what I said before the year started. And people are saying, now you say that because you picked the Celtics win the series. You guys forgot in October when I did my season preview, and it's on record on this podcast. Go back to October. I said my finals preview was the Knicks and the Thunder. Or Knicks Mavs. I had the Knicks in the finals because I thought their roster was good enough, their wings were good enough to sustain to beat Boston because they have long Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. They're all long and whatnot, and they can limit Boston's shooting. The reason I changed my pick coming to the playoffs is because I went based on what I saw, and I didn't think the Knicks were disciplined enough to beat Boston. And look, it's still been nip and tuck all the way through. I mean, not all the way through, but Boston could be eased up 2-0 right now. They've blown 20 point leads in both these games, but the formula is there. I've always said the path was there. It's whether or not they open that door. But they damn sure have the horses to get to the finals. I never doubted that. Up to nothing. So I'll ask you this. Celtics first, because I think that's the bigger story for me on here. Panic meter, 1 in 10. 10 being most panicked, or 1 being not as panicked. Where you at the Celtics?
About a 5, I would say. I mean, the fact that they've been up by 20 in both the 2 games, it's not like they've been thoroughly outplayed. I mean, if they have another 2-minute stretch in each game, they win going away in both games. So it's not as if they, it's not like if you saw what Oklahoma City did to Denver last night, for example. It's not like Boston lost 2 games like that and it's like, whoa, they can't hang with this team. They've been the better team for 6 out of the 8 quarters. It's just that they've collapsed going down the stretch. I guess where the panic would come in is just the health of some of their guys. I mean, I don't see Porzingis being healthy enough at any point in this series to make a huge impact. which, they might not need him to. Even without him, I mean, you still have Holiday, you still have White, you still have Tatum, you still have Brown. I think Brown is probably still a little banged up from the end of the season. He's playing okay, but I think that concerns. Sam Hauser's banged up too, so he's not playing a role. So I think the depth that they had that made them minus 800 or minus 850 going into this series, it's being tested. So I mean, like, it's not the same 8 guys you thought they were going to try it out. Now you've got like 5 to 6 guys that you can count on, and not the 8 guys that you could count on. So I mean, it's definitely leveled the playing field. But the fact that they've been up 20 in both games, obviously they've been at home, so that's concerning. But they clearly have the players to do it. It's just whether or not they're going to play a style conducive enough to doing it. I mean, it's funny. Tatum started the game like, I don't know, 0 for 7 last night. And his first basket, he gets the ball in the corner, he pump fakes from 3, and then he just cruises to the rim for a dunk. And it's like they are just so like resistant to taking easy baskets, getting downhill, going to the rim. And I feel like if, like, in the first game, they took 63s. If they'd taken 45 threes, they'd win by 20. So, I mean, it's just they don't show a deviation from their plan at all, even when it makes sense to. And then by the time, it's like they say on TNT, when the house is on fire, you got to get the wife and kids out. I mean, it was on fire last night in the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't slow it down. So I think the key for them going forward is not allowing it to get to that point.
And we've said this too in the podcast throughout the year, you and I. Like, we agree. Like, okay, do we agree Boston's the favorites to win the East and probably win the championship? Yeah. But we also did caveat and say they are very beatable. If you get them off that 3-point line, they get cold. They don't want to play bully ball. You got to force them to bully ball. And Orlando, to their credit, in the first round, granted they didn't have the personnel to sustain it, but they showed the signs. They showed the signs how to keep this team relatively at bay. And with New York, it's about discipline. And I was not impressed with what I saw in New York in the first round against Detroit. Detroit could easily win that series. Look at those 6 games. Those games can go either way. And New York is by far the better team on roster wise. However, we have said all year long, Boston is beatable, and they've shown signs in the past, in the last couple of years alone, where they've had games where they're up 30 points and lost because they kept shooting the 3, and get cold, and allow teams back in the game. And in the case of this series, we've seen twice now in this series at Boston. Now that being said, pentameter, same 5, because obviously you don't want to be down 0-2 going on the road. However, the Celtics can get hot at any time. They've dominated, I would say, about 85% of the playing time in this series. Okay, they just had to hold leads. You hold leads are fine, and the funny thing about Boston also, especially in the last couple of years in the playoffs, they've actually been better on the road than at home, honestly. So there's something to be said that, I don't know. Again, when I say this, I know Knicks fans look at me and say, EJ, shut the fuck up. You hate it again. You're a Knicks hater. No, I'm getting perspective. First off, I'm rooting for you guys to win the series. Calm down. I hate the Celtics. Although, I'm a little tortured, Greg. I know you don't know this, but I'm tortured because I'm rooting for the Knicks to win the series, but I got money on the Celtics to win the series with a friend of mine. So am I better? Is pride more important to me in my wallet? I don't know. But in any case, though, I'm giving you a perspective. Damn well, it's not like I'll play Boston like 2-1 here. Let's calm down a second. You know what I mean? So, like I said, game 1, I'll say game 2, take the wins, but have perspective, because Boston, can heat up at any time. And I honestly, not to like a hater, but I still think they'll win game 3. I think they will win game 3.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd have to give a prediction for the series, I'd probably say Boston in 7. I still think that Boston's going to win the series. And the Knicks have played great, and the Knicks have a path right now. I mean, they have a runway basically to get to the finals. I mean, like, if they play their cards right. But I guess for me, just the fact that it's really more about Boston, why the series is 2-0. The fact that, I mean, look, once you're up 20, the onus is on Boston to close those games out, and they haven't done it. And both teams, to be honest with you, have been better on the road. So, I mean, the Knicks have been better on the road going back to the Detroit series, and the Celtics have been better on the road pretty much throughout. It looks like I lost you there.
My bad.
I was going to say I lost you there for a second, so I don't know how.
I just texted you saying Wi-Fi. Keep talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I paused for a second. I wasn't sure if it cut out, but yeah, I was just saying that both teams have been better on the road. So I mean, the Celtics have been better on the road. The Knicks have been better on the road. So I don't necessarily know that going to MSG is going to
change anything really drastically.
Yeah. I mean, it's game by game. I don't really care where the game is being played. And the fact that the Celtics went up by 20 in both games, I feel like they still, even with being banged up and the uncertainty around Porzingis, they still have the horses to go up by those big leads. And the thing that you mentioned before about we talked about it all season. My complaint all season with the Celtics has just been like they're leaving their fate up to like shot variance. I mean, the fact that you shoot a lot of threes, you're going to live by the three and die by the three, but it's like they've got good enough players that they don't have to do that. So I mean, like they don't have to rely. They don't have to rely on threes. I mean, Tatum is basically unguardable because he's 6'9". He's got a big frame. He's fast. He can get to the rim. He's almost impossible to guard. So when he steps back for contested jumpers and contested threes, I know he missed the wide open one when they were falling apart late in the game during that 21-2 run. But I mean, for the most part, like he's not a great 3-point shooter. Like he's statistically league average, like right around 34-35%. So I mean, that shouldn't be your go-to move. That should be your shot. Like the one that he took in the right corner, like, okay, he was wide open. No problem with that shot. But I mean, hunting them when you're covered by Anunoby or Bridges and taking a step back three, like that's not a good shot.
And he wasn't good at all last night anyway. He had only 13 points. He had double, but he had 13 points, 14 boards, and 519 shooting. Like he had a bad game in general.
Yeah, he's had a bad 2 games. Like if you look at his numbers from both games, I mean he's way under 50% shooting. I mean he's probably shooting like 30% in the 2 games. So I mean it's been a rough.
He had 23-16 in game 1, but again inefficient, very inefficient performance.
Yeah, I mean I believe he was. I believe he was like 7 of 23 shooting. Like
yeah,
I don't care how many points you have at that point. If you're missing 16 shots, that you're not helping your team win at that point.
Yeah, he again. This is why I say he's frustrating. That's why people ask you why he's not in the top 5. Why not in the top 5? I'm like, last night's game is exactly why. That game was in the hand. It was in hand to take, and he didn't take it. That's simple.
Yeah, and the other guys that you put in the top 5, I mean, like they don't need guys around them for their teams to have success. Like I feel like Tatum could have a bad game and the Celtics can still win. Like Jokic can't have a bad game and the Nuggets win, which you saw last night. If Jokic has a bad game, they're losing by 40 points. Same thing for Luka when he was in Dallas. Giannis with Milwaukee.
Like, SGA now too also.
Yeah, you go through it. Although even SGA, I mean, he had a phenomenal game last night, but he still has Jalen Williams and Holmgren and Dort's a good defender, and Caruso's coming off the bench, and they have other guys like Wiggins and Joe who can hit shots. So I mean, like there are guys to take away a little bit. Like Tatum has the luxury of if he has an off night, there are other guys that can pick up the slack. I mean, Derek White can score 30, Jaylen Brown can score 30. Not many people have that luxury. So I wouldn't put him in the top 5 either. I mean, he's in the top 10, but and that's not just being reactionary to these 2 games. He's a great player.
No. We both been saying this 2 years now. So
yeah.
It's only being pronounced. It's only all those is making it more pronounced that what we've been saying is true.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, we've been having this discussion all year. So
yeah. What about the Cavs? They're down 0-2 as well. Different scenario though. They have injuries as an excuse to lean on. Darius Garland's missed 4 games in a row, dating back to the first round against Miami. But then they also were without Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter for game 2, which you can argue between those 2 guys with Garland. Those are 3 of the 4 best players on that team. But here's why I don't give an excuse on that one. 47.5 minutes of that game, they were up, control that game. You just need 30 seconds to close it out. So you need 30 seconds to close it out. Like it'd be one thing if like you lost that game, was nip and tuck all the way through, but Indiana's more the horses. I get it. That's an excuse. But when you're up at one point by 20 points and you still can't close it out, I got to put on you guys. You don't get to have both ways. And I'm concerned for the Cavs now for one reason: these injuries. Like maybe for the record, and maybe this is me being an old fuddy duddy. Maybe I'm just like too old school, whatever. Are we sure that Evan Mobley was really that hurt to the point we couldn't play in the playoff game? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit out there with that, but it's the playoffs, dude. Toughen the fuck up and show up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have that argument more for Garland than I would for Mobley. I mean, from everything that I read, the Cleveland media said that he was like limping around the locker room. So, I mean, like, I don't, yeah, so Mobley. So, I mean, I don't anticipate him playing tomorrow. I mean, I guess Hunter's probably got the best chance of playing. I'm assuming that with Garland, it's a pain tolerance thing. Although I don't know that. I mean, I guess in theory it could get worse. I'm sure it's painful, but I think that they're probably more upset with Garland than they are with Mobley. Even though he was able to like get up off of it in game one, I don't know. He's probably the one that I have the least amount of confidence in playing tomorrow.
And that's a problem because Indiana. Go ahead.
He's probably the most important player, more so than Mitchell, because I mean, like he won Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. So I mean, not only can he give you 20 points, he can switch on to Halliburton and lock him up. He can switch on to anybody. He can guard anybody 1 through 5 that Indiana is going to throw out there. And he's also got the ability to go give you a 20 and 12 while doing it. So, I mean, Mitchell, for as great as he is, like he's still a small guard who, that hasn't really shot great in the first 2 games. I mean, I know that he scored the 48, 49 points, but I mean, it took a lot of work to get there. And then you could see how exhausted he was down the stretch and flamed out down the stretch, missed free throws, turnovers, et cetera. So, I mean, I guess his shooting was okay in game 2, but overall, I would say he hasn't been up to par.
I'm gonna give this a 9.5.
Yes. As far as the grade goes, I would give it a 10 because of the injuries. I mean, you're down 0-2. Boston still got Tatum and Brown healthy. Derek White's healthy. So, I mean, again, I know Brown's banged up, but I know he's going to be out there. Yeah. So their 3 best players are going to play. I don't know that 3 of the 4 best players on Cleveland are going to be out there tomorrow. So given that I don't know if they're playing, and Mitchell, I don't think can carry that workload for 48 minutes. I mean, you could see that he ran out of gas. So, I mean, I know he can score, but is he going to be able to, handle the ball? Is he going to be able to defend? Is he going to be able to knock down his free throws? All that stuff down the stretch was a concern in game 2. I think that they're in trouble because I don't know who's going to be playing. I don't think that you can win a series with just Jared Allen, Mitchell, and hoping that a bunch of role players step up for you.
Right.
Because Indiana's good. Indiana's really good.
And you notice Indiana didn't, unlike the Boston, Indiana didn't rely on 3-pointers back in the game. They went to the basket, went to the hole every single time. And that's this is exactly where Mobley was missed. Because Halliburton, the last 2 minutes of the game, but Halliburton was going to the basket at a reckless abandon.
And Rick Carlisle's a really good coach.
He's a very good coach. Really
and for Indiana, like they've got guys who play better in the playoffs. Like they upped their game. Like they started the season 16-18. So I mean, New Year's Day, they're under 500. But like just like last year, same thing this year. These guys all upped their game in the playoffs. I mean, Nembhard shot 29.1% from 3 during the regular season. So like a big sample size. His first 6 games of the playoffs, he's shooting 57% from 3. So I mean, like it's just wild how you get these guys to sort of play above themselves when the games matter the most. Nesmith, same thing. I mean, like they've got guys who are good role players that are just playing dominant basketball in 2 series. So I mean, again, they're live to go as far as they could want. Same thing with the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks and Pacers should both look at this and say, like, we've got a golden opportunity right now to like give ourselves a chance to win a title.
Yeah. My Wi-Fi is being a little weird here, so I apologize about the delay. Speaking of injuries, Steph Curry. Now the Warriors won game 1 despite him getting hurt in the second quarter of the game, hamstring injury. He's missing game 2, definitely. They're saying he's day-to-day. He could miss upwards to a week, which probably puts him in danger of missing game 3 as well. So Golden State's lucky to have gotten, well, I can't say lucky because they actually won the game and they control the game from start to finish, even without Steph. But to win that game 1 was huge because it gives them a little bit of buffer. Having said all that, how bad can the Warriors survive with even a compromised Steph Curry in this series?
Can they survive? Probably not. I mean, I think that they probably won game 1 on adrenaline. I personally don't think that he's even going to play again in this series. And if he does, he will be like significantly compromised.
Hamstrings are strange because hamstrings, they linger a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, just watching him grab at it, like you can clearly see it pulled. That's like a 2 to 3 week injury. So, I mean, sure, he can come back, but I mean, he's coming back to just be a spot up shooter. Like, I think it was game 7 against Houston. They said that he ran like 1.9 miles in the game. Like, he's not doing that on a pulled hamstring against Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, you name it. Everyone that they're going to throw out there at him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like those guys are going to be chasing him around. And if he's on a bad hamstring, like I just don't see how that works. Can they still win the series with him compromised? I mean, I thought that Minnesota was going to win this series in 6 before he got hurt. So, I mean, I guess based on how Minnesota played in game 1, I still would say Minnesota in game 6 because they didn't inspire a lot of confidence. But I think that Golden State's going to have their work cut out for them if this is the kind of injury that I think that it is, which they can say a week, but I think that's just them trying to put lipstick on a pig. Like, I think that they're in trouble a little bit here. Unless
Buddy Hield is the second coming of Klay Thompson, which the last couple of games, let's be real, he's looking at the Buddy Hield that we thought he'd be in the NBA when he was drafted all those years ago. And they got Jimmy. So you have to score more points, obviously, get more help from the ancillary pieces. And look, you're not getting another Draymond Green game like that. 20 points. What was it? 20 points in that game? I think it was 18.
He made 4 threes. I mean, you just tip your.
You're cap. Not getting that. You're not getting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're Minnesota, like you live with that. I mean, you've got to allow something. And if they're going to allow him taking threes from the top of the arc and he's going to bury them, you just have to tip your cap.
The only reason I'll fall short of saying that it's impossible for them to win is that even a compromised Steph Curry on the court, because of the threat of the three, is dangerous. You have to account for it. You can't leave him open because he will hit those shots. And then what? So if anything, I think him being compromised, if he's able to at least be on the court, that attention alone should spell, you have to account for that if you're Minnesota. So I'll fall short of saying that it's impossible if it's available. But even so, I had Minnesota win the series in 7 anyway. So, and I think this injury is going to hurt it. I think Minnesota will bounce back on that game too. They'll blow them out the way OKC did last. Well, maybe not as bad as OKC, but certainly they'll blow them out like game 2. And I think Minnesota, and we'll see better Anthony Edwards game. I think Anthony Edwards was put like shit on game 1. I think we'll get a better performance, and and like I said, you're guaranteed probably have no Steph for 2 games at least. So, and those injuries, like I said, hamstring injuries are weird. They linger. And even if the Warriors make it far to the conference finals or beyond, it will be there. The injury will be there, for a while. So that's what. But I will fall short of saying there's no chance because if he's on the court for these game 4 and 5, you have to account for shooting. One last thing before we get to some of these other things on the list. Now, unlike Boston and Cleveland, OKC last night said,
Yeah.
we almost won 70 games this year. What are we doing? I know Jokic and Denver, and they won a title 2 years ago, but what a Thunder! Nah, and look, they gave that game to Denver in game 1. They OKC should be up 2-0 right now. So that's bounce back by the Thunder last night. Go ahead.
You could make the argument that was, out of all the games that there have been collapses, like that was probably the worst one because I love Mark Daigneault as a coach. Yeah. I don't know what they were doing at the end of game 1. The fact that you're up 3, I'm fine if you want to foul, but to foul like 9/10 of a second, only allowing that to run off the clock, and to do it in the backcourt, they ran no time off. You're putting more pressure on your own guys to hit free
Thank
throws.
You. So that's what I said.
I mean, like, when they fouled with that much time left and they allowed Jokic to get back on the floor, I didn't understand that at all. I mean, if anything, it's like have them go down the floor, see if they can create without Jokic on the floor and see if they can get a 3. I don't think that they'd even be able to get a good look. But even still, if they're fumbling around, foul them with 4 or 5 seconds left while they're trying to find something. Don't foul them 80 feet from the rim. I mean, and
what's the worst thing that happens? He played defense. Okay, they tie it, go overtime. Okay.
Yeah. And you have the better team. So, I mean, like, you still have to like your chances in overtime. So, like, the way that they play that out didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I mean, look,
Yeah.
they won game 2 by 43 points. So I mean, it's not as if they didn't show what they're capable of. And honestly, I think they wake up today and they see what's going on in Boston. They see what's going on in Cleveland, and they've got to feel like they've got a runway to winning a title this year. Like even more so, like they were probably the favorites entering the playoffs. But right now they have to look at it and feel like they are the heavy favorites as long as they play even reasonable basketball from here on out.
Injury aside, yeah, injuries, barring any injuries going forward, I said it on the last episode I just recorded with David Mill on Tuesday. Winner of the series win the title. Winner of the series win the title. Denver pulls it out. The winning the title as well. So yeah. I feel the same way you do about this. I had Thunder in 6 when the series started. I have not wavered. I'm going to stay there with Thunder in 6. I can see it going 7 games though. But yeah, you look back at game 1, man. They gave away that game. That's a game that you look back and say, yeah, we could be up 2-0 though. Like you feel good about game 2 and all that, but you gave a game away. And that's the worst thing. You gave that to them. You know, and now you got to go to Denver now. Denver is, the altitude and all that. Could, we'll see.
Yeah, I know we didn't do our predictions since I was traveling, but I also had OKC in 6. I mean, going through the other series, I mean, I had Cleveland in 6. That doesn't look so hot now. I
had Cleveland in 5 actually. That one.
Okay, yeah, I had Boston.
I don't trust Indiana. Yeah, Boston. I had Boston 5 as well too.
I had Boston in 5, and then I had Minnesota in 6. So I mean, I guess
Minnesota in 7.
Minnesota and OKC are still alive. I guess Cleveland technically is, but I thought Boston would roll in that series. So the best I can do is Boston in 6 at this point.
Right. All right, let's get to it. We would have done this last week or maybe early in the week, but because of scheduling and whatnot, we're going to finally bury the teams that lost in the first round of the postseason this year. So let's get to the first team here of the 8, Miami Heat. I think they finished the year 39-43. I think it was the final record, 37-45. Anyway, what Miami Heat? What letter are you going to give them?
I'll give them a D. I don't know where you'd fall on that, but
you're mean. You're mean.
The fact that you wind up as a 10 seed in an East that's not all that competitive down at the bottom. The fact that they don't really have like the star caliber players already on their roster, they'd have to go out and get. And just the way that they went out in the Cleveland series. So I think those 3 things, the last 2 games really weren't competitive against Cleveland. And I mean, in game 4, they quit. So, I mean, like, that's not a good sign at all for a team it's not like they're like a super young team. I mean, like, Bam's a veteran, Hero's been around. I mean, like, it's not like they're trotting out a bunch of rookies out there. So, I mean, like, that's somewhat concerning. And I don't know if they have enough assets to like make like a franchise changing move in the offseason. Like they could probably get Durant, maybe, I mean, it depends on Phoenix's asking price, but I feel like Phoenix is going to ask for a lot more than what they probably should be asking for. So, I mean, maybe they can't or won't even want to get involved in that. So I don't really see where they go necessarily from here. I feel like they're sort of in that like middle of the pack, like the last place you want to be. Like they're not contending for a championship, but they're not like so bad that they're going to get one of these game-breaking guys at the top of the draft.
I went C-. I came close to a D. The reason why I fell short of D is I have to bake in the fact that the Gene Butler situation really screwed this team's mentality up. As much as the culture is really solid, that Jimmy situation really went longer than it should. It started really since last year, filtered into the training camp, into the regular season, and then it went way longer than it should have. And by the time you got to February and after the trade, they were already a team that was trying to figure out who the hell they were. And then on top of that, Andrew Wiggins, who was the centerpiece of that trade for Miami, didn't he wasn't available a lot of times. So they were able to put a product on the court soon enough to see where this team was at. So I fell short of a D. I went C- for that reason. They showed some signs late in the year, a little bit of winning streak late in the year. Then they won the 2 playing games. But the Cleveland thing, it's weird. The Cleveland thing to me was more about Cleveland, in my opinion, even though Miami did quit. But yeah, I just thought that the team, they quit because I thought that this year was just a disaster given all the stuff that happened internally. I've already said on record too, also as a Heat fan, that I think every player, including Bam and Talahiro, much I hate to say this, should be up for trade discussions if need be. I think Bam's hit his ceiling already. I think Talahiro is really, really good, but he's a better number 3 than the number 1 guy. There's a lot of really good B+ players on this team. No A. There's no whales here. All these guys are guys who are misusing roles right now that shouldn't be. Like Bam is better as number 3, in my opinion. I've been saying for a couple of years now, Bam should be a number 3 option, not number 1. So Miami has a lot of great, really good pieces for contenders. But if Miami wants to get a whale and refresh and start over from scratch, I think every player in that roster is viable to be traded. I'm not advocating to trade Bam and Tyler, but if you can get a top 3 player in the league and it requires at least one of those pieces to get them, you got to at least give it some strong consideration. So C-, and I think we'll see what Heat does. Obviously, Pat Riley's 80 years old. We'll see what he does with the roster. He has a state of the Heat Union with State Union address, I think this week, whatever. So We'll see how that goes with the Heat. All right. Next team here, we have the Orlando Magic. They finished the year 41-41. By the way, Miami finished the year 47-35. So that was the record. But Orlando won now 41-41.
I'll give him a C. I mean, pretty average. I mean, Banchero's a great young player. I thought Franz Wagner took a step back. I don't know what's going on with his shot. He's got kind of like a hitch in his jump shot. So, I mean, from a shooting standpoint, he took a step backwards. As an organization, they didn't add any shooting, at any point. Like, if you're telling me that the reason why this team didn't progress from where they were is because Jalen Suggs got hurt. Like, Jalen Suggs can't be, like, if he's the defining point of your season, you're probably not. And look, he's a good young player, but I mean, he's not Anthony Edwards. I mean, he's not like a guy who's raising the ceiling of that team to a championship. So, I mean, I feel like they're just kind of spinning their wheels in mud a little bit. So, I mean, we'll see where they go from here. I'd like to think that they're going to add a guard, some shooting, something like that in the offseason, be it an Anthony Simons from Portland or a Cam Johnson from the Nets. I mean, obviously they play different positions, but like they need to put some shooting around Banchero and Wagner because those guys aren't like traditionally like great shooters, and Wagner took a step back. So, I mean, and also Kentavious Caldwell-Pope comes over on a free agent deal, has a pretty underwhelming season. So, I mean, all in all, they're still young. They still have 2 really good young players. So I guess that's why you feel good about them. But everything else around that has sort of fallen off. So pretty average, went with a C.
Yeah, I almost went there too. Also, just like Miami, I fell short. I went B-. Obviously, that the middle of the year slump after the great start was definitely concerning, especially given the fact that you got your guys back and you still fell apart. You know what I mean? But they did recover at the end of the year. They ended up playing better toward the end of the year, made the playoffs. I thought they gave Boston a fight. It won't reflect on the fact they lost in 5 games, but I had Boston a sweep, and the fact they got a game in that series, and some of those games were competitive too. Also, I think bodes well for Orlando and what they have, but at the same time, they do need another piece. And I think the taking's there. Because again, like teams like Milwaukee, we'll get them in a second. Milwaukee's floundering right now. Indiana is good, but I don't trust them completely. There's a lot of teams in that middle of the pack that are floundering that Orlando can be easily place themselves back into the top 4 or 5 discussion if things go their way and they find the right pieces. Again, Banchero was great this year when he was healthy. The Warner brothers were really good. So they have good pieces there to build upon, and I think this is one piece. It doesn't need to be a superstar. This is a valuable piece to kind of keep the waters calm there. But I thought overall, given everything that happened this year, the topsy-turvy nature of their season, I go B-. I wanted to go C+ for a second, but I was like, B- is fine. So, all right, next team here we have the Detroit Pistons, who ended the year 44-38.
Yeah, I'll give them an A. I thought that based on where they were last year, they tripled their win total. I mean, you couldn't have when the season started.
I apologize, guys.
Oh, can you hear me?
You can hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. Okay, now I was a little lag there. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I was.
Pistons-
Yeah, on Detroit. I mean, they tripled their win total. I mean, when the season started, I'm sure they never could have dreamed that they would have been a 6 seed, not even having to go through the play-in to get in the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't like they finished 9 and squeaked their way in. Like, they earned their way into the playoffs. They played well in the playoffs. I mean, like you said earlier, they could have won a couple of those games. So, that they lost. They easily could have won that series. A thing bounces differently here or there. You get a call at the end of one game, so on and so forth. So I think they've got to feel good about that. Cade Cunningham looks like a star that you can build around. You've got to feel good about him as your lead point guard. Didn't have Jaden Ivey. Not saying that he's a star by any stretch, but I mean, it's not like they were completely healthy. They didn't have Isaiah Stewart. So given all that and where they started the year, where they were last year, losing 26, 27 games in a row last year, and then this year playing like they did, I think the entire organization has got to feel good about it. And they might be in a situation where like their clock speeds up a little bit in terms of how they approach building the team, because like they showed that this team can be competitive with anybody right now. So it's like, how aggressive are they in the offseason? They have those options available to them. So we'll see. But I think even management was surprised at how well they did this year.
So what grade to give him?
A.
I'm at A+. If you told me this get team won 44 games this year, not only make the playoffs, be a playoff team in the top 6, and then even perform well, there's an argument to be said that they should have won that series in New York. They had New York at the rights a couple of those games. And I think it bodes well for their future. Now, if you're like, we talk about in this podcast about like many stars that can be on the move. We mentioned John Morant, Trae Young, Giannis, obviously Kevin Durant. Does Detroit become attractive now that this is the team that's on the up and up again? They could be a team to mix down to get those guys. Who knows? I don't know what their plans are. I don't know if they want to stick to the youth movement and build naturally. But as you said, the clock probably spent up now on this team now. Now they think, okay, well, maybe we get another whale, then maybe we can compete for title. Who knows? So Detroit put themselves in a good position here to at least create some more viable options for their future. So I get A+ for them here. All right, Milwaukee Bucks, who ended the year 48-34.
Probably a D. I mean, Giannis played great, but you finish, if you have Giannis playing at the level that he was, and you wind up not having home court advantage in the first round, and you haven't surrounded him with enough guys that can help you beat a team like Indiana. Like, I feel like since you really haven't done anything to improve your future, and in fact, like, they don't have any really movable pieces outside of one first-round pick they can trade, I feel like they're sort of in a purgatory here. Hopefully for them, Giannis will be loyal to them and stick around. But it looks kind of bleak, even if he stays. I mean, like, if he stays, I don't know how they put pieces around him. And look, he played great. They'll still be a playoff team. But if you're looking at winning championships, I don't know how they're in a better position today to win a championship than they were 5 years ago. Now, the one thing I will say is that you hear all these experts talking about, like, oh, they blew up a core that won a title. It's like, look, we see Drew Holiday with Boston right now. Like, Drew Holiday
he's cooked.
He can play defense now, but he's not giving you the offense that Giannis needed as a second player. And Chris Middleton is like, he's perennially injured. So, I mean, like, I think the fact that they gave him up for Kuzma, which, I mean, I guess you could say it turned out.
Trade.
Well, I mean, it turned out to be a disaster, but the idea behind it was that Kuzma can move. He's 6'9", and he's mobile.
And he's younger.
Yeah, and he's younger. Middleton was no longer mobile. So, I mean, like, he couldn't give you 30 minutes in a playoff game anymore. So, I mean, he's just not healthy enough to play NBA basketball. So that's the reason why they got rid of those guys, because they couldn't help Giannis anymore. Like, Drew Holiday couldn't be the number 2 on a team that had aspirations to win a championship. So people bagging on that, like Lillard, if he was healthy, no blood clot, no Achilles, like he could still go out and score 30. Not saying he would every night, but he has that capability. Like, I don't think Middleton still has that capability, and I know that Holiday doesn't have that capability.
Well, I think we agree now that the Bucks window is closed. officially.
Yeah.
Unless they retool that team, the Bucks window as we know it is closed for title. Because as we've seen, there have now been multiple teams that passed them in the standing since then. I mean, we can now say verifiably that the Patriots now passed them now. So add that team to the mix, and all went Boston and New York and Cleveland, they've all passed them. So and now they're going to be a team without Dame for at least a massive chunk of the season next year, probably at least an All-Star break. How's this team going to look in February next year? And this is also assuming that Giannis is still there.
Yeah.
It's also assuming he's still there. I did go see, though, because, again, all things considering, they were still just a shy 50 wins this year. More bad luck, though. More bad luck. They came to the place red hot. They ended the year at an 8-game win streak. This is why I picked Bucks to win the series. But then bad luck, the blood clots early in the series for Lillard, and then he comes back, and then the game later he has Achilles there. Like, come on. I mean, what are you going to do? But we do agree that the window is officially closed for the Bucks, the title window, as currently constructed. All right. Next team here, the Memphis Grizzlies, who ended the season at 48-34.
I guess I'll give them a C. I mean, I'd want to go lower on that, but I mean, they still have 3 guys that you could conceivably build around. And I guess I'm looking at this from like a going forward standpoint. So like, I know that they're not going to keep all 3 of those guys. One of those guys will be moved in the offseason. I'd be surprised if they weren't, but those are all like blue chip players that they could move and get a lot of value for. And they won 48 games. And you could say that even with Ja getting hurt, like they were still competitive with Scottie Pippen Jr. running the point. So, I mean, I feel like they've got guys on their roster going forward that like, okay, maybe they're not a title contender today, but if they retool the roster, they still showed that they were competitive in long spurts of the season. New coach, maybe new philosophy, maybe that helps. And then we'll see what they do as far as the roster goes. But I mean, 14 games over 500, pieces you can build around or trade. It's not as if these guys are like 37 years old. Like they'll be takers for all of them. I mean, like,
a question.
Yeah, any team would want to have Bane on their team, So I mean, like, they'll
even Jaren Jackson, and his contract's not that bad either. So
yeah. So I mean, like, they'll be takers no matter what direction they decide to go in. So it's not like they're stuck. It's not like their window's closed. They're just going to have to rearrange the chairs on the deck. But I mean, like, they still have a pathway to do that and still be very competitive next year.
This is exactly what I said on the pod last week, is that the Grizzlies are that seesaw team. Like, they're not a title contender, but they're not bad. They're a good team that is a piece away from being a title contender, but also a piece away from trading, a piece away from rebuilding. They're in that same, not quite purgatory, but close to purgatory, where like you're not good enough, but you're not bad enough. And again, I think John Morant might have played his last game in Memphis. This is my opinion. I think they will find a way to package him the deal, because I don't think they want to pay him what he's up for. I think $300 million contract is up for, I think, next year or the year after that. And I think teams like what same we saw with Dallas and Luka. If teams already in their head have said themselves, when I want to invest this much money in a guy like this, who number one he's already a high risk player on the court. He's also a risk player off the court as well too.
Yeah,
who can pay that guy $300 million? No, what we saw, and we said this in the podcast weeks ago, that what we saw with the Nico Harris and Luka Doncic Dallas Mavericks thing could be a trend started here, because I think Memphis will be doing the same thing also too. So I went C for that reason. I went C. It was a good year for them in spite of all the struggles, firing the coach middle of the year, or late in the year rather. But this is a team that's right now, in a sense, directionless right now. We don't know where they're going. What was a priority? Do they trade the whale? Do they add to the team? That's the question. They're actually one of the most intriguing teams of the offseason, in my opinion. So, all right, next team here, the LA Lakers, who finished the year 50-32.
I'll say B-, just because I don't know that. I mean, look, they got Luka, and that's great. Like they pulled off a heist. They still have assets they can go out and add upon. But like LeBron at 40 years old, like I just don't know that core is getting you anywhere. Like I feel like LeBron at his age is not carrying a team anymore, and Luka wasn't in the physical shape needed to carry a team, and they still need another guy. So I mean, I feel like the move for them would be trading Reeves and some picks and maybe connect and all that and trying to go out and get a big player. I don't know who that big player is. I don't know if that's even available to them. I just don't know. I feel like it's redundant having Reeves and Luka on the team because you've got two guys that aren't really great defenders and LeBron is really old. So they had a good season. They put themselves in the mix from where they were. They were able to get a guy that no one ever would have expected they'd be able to get. But like that guy does come with question marks. So I mean, like as I've said all along, like I don't have a problem with them trading Luka. I just had a problem with the package that they took back for him.
Bingo.
I feel like had you held him for auction, you could have really taken a team with way more assets to the cleaners. I feel like just getting back, and look, Max Christie's a nice player. The pick is nice, but like Anthony Davis, an all-pro, that's great, but like he's older and has injury concerns himself. So I just don't know that was as good a deal as they could have gotten. And I feel like if you're going to make that move, you should get as much as you can for him. That said, for the Lakers, like he does have his flaws. So I mean, it's not like you just add him and you're automatically a contender. Like they need to add to that roster, and they don't have like a tremendous amount of pathways to do that unless they're willing to part with Reeves.
Which I imagine they probably would if given the right pieces available. Because I think they'll be in the mix for another star because that's what the Lakers do. They always go start stargazing. Having said all that though, B+ for me, and I'll tell you why. JJ Redick was better than we all thought coming to the year. Playoff meltdown aside, there's some things in the playoffs that was definitely egregious, but totality, picture, all that, he was really good this year. The Lakers were not supposed to be this good this year, even before the trade. And then when the trade happened with Luka, we said, this is a white flag moment for them for this season because they're looking to the next 5 or 10 years, not the next like 5 or 10 months. And they were still good. Obviously the meltdown aside in the playoffs, obviously doesn't help. But when you look at the expectations that I know I had coming to the year and then during the year, and then when they pivoted, we thought this is more about, okay, LeBron would, LeBron play out this last year or two his contract. So long. We're building for the future here. But they were actually people talking themselves into this team being a finals contender.
Yeah, I think in my case, like I sort of got blinded by how well they played towards the end of the season and didn't look at the obvious roster flaws that they had like in their first round. So like when I picked them in 7, it was like against the Timberwolves. It's like, the Timberwolves are good, but they have some flaws that I think the Lakers can exploit, like their size on the perimeter. I know that they didn't have a big man, but again, that was something that I looked at and I'm like, okay, they have a chance here, not acknowledging the fact that, okay, like there's a reason why they tried to trade for Mark Williams from Charlotte because they don't think they have a big man. And that's, ultimately I overlooked that, and I probably shouldn't have, the fact that they themselves said that they didn't have enough, which is why they were trying to make more moves. So that's why I guess I went B- because I'm like, they're not a finished product by any means. And they went out in the first round. And so it's like, there's still work to be done, and we'll see how they're able to shift to do that. But you're right. I mean, they're always whale hunting. We'll see what they can do with the pieces that they've got.
Right. All right. The other LA team, the Clippers, who also finished the year 15-32.
I'll give them a C. They overachieved from where everyone thought they'd be in the beginning of the season, like a 35 win total. So that's great, that where they finished. But the problem is that when they get into the playoffs, then at that point, like you're then thinking that like, wow, this team is good enough to make a run to the finals with Kawhi healthy and Norman Powell getting healthy and Harden playing well and Zubats being a most improved player of the year candidate, a defensive player of the year candidate. So, I mean, they had like 4 really good players. And the fact that they go out in the first round and now you're left wondering like, okay, where do they go from here? It's not like they have a lot of flexibility to go out and add around those guys. So they're sort of like stuck in the middle too. I guess it's good that they've got Kawhi who's playing at a star level. That's great. But I don't know that you can count on another healthy year from him. And then you go on down the list, like Harden's going to be another year older. And again, in these grades, I'm also like looking forward, like, okay, what does it mean, the fact that they underachieved based on what we thought going into the playoffs? Like we both thought that like they were live to make a run.
I mean,
And
they go to 7 games with Denver, a team that we believe that if the winner of this series against the Thunder will win a championship. So I mean,
yeah,
they
and if
they had the hardest part of the bracket, really. Anybody else, and at least in their case, they were competitive.
yeah, but I mean, they didn't win the series. So I mean, if they
Right,
had
true.
if they had won the series and they got knocked out in the semis or the Western Conference Finals, then we'd look at it and say, oh, give them an A- because of where we thought they'd be at the beginning of the year and what they did. But the fact that they still didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs and they're an older team without a lot of flexibility and guys that are usually hurt, that's a tough road to go down, considering they didn't get that far this year. And again, the expectations have to change. Just because the expectations were bad to start the season, like they played into a place where they should have been good enough that they should have had loftier goals, not just said, oh, we took Denver to 7 games, we had a great year. Like, you're basing that off of preseason projections, not as it went.
True.
I thought that our expectations changed. And
Why?
so the fact that they couldn't get out of that game 7, they got blitzed in that game 7.
Yeah, that was a bad look, a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
Bad. No, if they, I went B+ on the record. I do think had they gotten the 2-3 bracket side of the bracket, I think they would have gotten through the first round with no issue. Whether it been who they draw Minnesota or the whoever it was in that bracket, Golden State. They won no series. Yeah, I'm with you, and I think the Clippers are very interesting now because everything kind of worked out the way you wanted it to work out if you're a Clipper fan, in a sense that yes, Kawhi was out most of the year, but you got Kawhi at the right time, healthy at the right time. And you blew it. You blew that opportunity. Granted, it was against Denver. We know how good Denver is, and Jokic, the best player in basketball. But it kind of feels like it's like not quite Milwaukee dire, but you missed this opportunity, and you don't know if you'll ever get it back again, because there's no guarantee Kawhi would be healthy at this time again next year, unless you are a team that's aggressive and going all in to get another whale. If I'm the Clippers, and you're trying to expand this window with this core, which is still a really good core. By the way, Zubac had a great year too, also. So you add him to that mix as well. You are definitely in the market for these 4 whales we discuss all the time: the Trae Youngs, the John Morants, the Durants, and Giannis. You are definitely in the mix of that stuff because you're all in with this core. You can't break it up now. You already paid Kawhi his money. Harden is getting paid pretty decently also too. Also, you're all in. And if there's an opportunity to get one more piece to get over the top, you might as well do it now, because they missed the opportunity this year. I do think that had they not drawn Denver in the first round, they're playing right now in the second round of playoffs. So it's at one hand it's bad luck. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, but you also got everything came worked out for you guys going to the playoffs. And for the record, if Aaron Gordon does not make that dunk in game 4, Clippers win that game. They go to overtime. Clippers win the game, up 3-1. We're not having this conversation. So game of inches, man. Game of inches.
Yeah, it's sports.
Tell me about it, man. All right, finally, last team here, the Houston Rockets, who ended the year as a 2 seed at 52-30.
I'll give them an A. Because I feel like they learned a lot about a lot of their players, and also they have so much flexibility going forward that they're another team that overachieved based on their preseason projections, which I think was like 40, 41 wins. They're a 2 seed in a super competitive conference. And like what we saw a week ago in the playoffs, like that was the worst version of their team that we're going to see for the next number of years, because by having the Suns' entire draft, going forward, the 25, the 27, the 29 pick, they've they're loaded to then go out and get one of those whales. Whereas like we talk about like the Clippers or those other teams, like I don't think they have the assets to do it. Houston does have the assets. So, I mean, they can sort of look at it and see how they want to play this. You learned a lot about Şengün. I guess you learned a lot about Jalen Green, maybe not in the positive, but like you learned a lot about these younger players, who you can build around, who you can't. And I think they have a lot of assets that they can move off of. And they've got salaries that are like tradable. I mean, Fred VanVleet, they pushed back his guarantee date. So, I mean, they pushed that to after the draft. So, I mean, in theory, he could be used in a trade. I'm not saying that they will, but I'm just saying that they have a $40 million slot that they can use for salary matching purposes. So, I mean, I don't know that like they've got a lot of like blue chip players right now outside of Amen Thompson, but I mean, you know that Thompson and Şengün are really good. Granted, I guess in theory, you could always have to part with one of them if you want to get like a Giannis, or maybe not. Maybe trading 5 first-round picks, including the entire Suns draft, and Reed Shepherd and Jabari Smith and Tari Eason and a couple other players, Jalen Green for salary. Maybe that works. I don't know. But I mean, like they have a lot of flexibility going forward, starting with the fact that they've got a lottery pick this year. So, I mean, like they could very easily wind up in the top 4 of the lottery and adding another player to that nucleus, whether they choose to keep or trade. They're in a good spot because they were right in that series to win it. I picked them before the series to win 7. And I guess for a stretch of time there at, when they won game 5, they won game 6. I'm like, oh, I might have a chance here. But they were just too young and inexperienced in the end. But good coach, good assets, some good young players. I feel like they're in a good spot going forward. Probably one of the best spots.
Yeah, I went A+. Again, for the same reason you said too. Also, I'm not surprised they lost to Golden State. In fact, I had them losing in 6 games. So the fact they got one extra game out of them was actually kind of impressive. But they learn a lot about Şengün. He's a good player. They learn also a lot about Jalen Green, trade piece. If you're gonna go with a hump, he can't be number 1. He's not number 1 guy. He's not. He disappeared in the playoffs against Golden State. And then that's not including Draymond Green getting to his head at the game 2. You know what I mean? So, game 3 rather. So, he ain't ready for big time. Ime Udoka, I told you, was one of my Coach of the Year candidates, like number 2 behind Atkinson? Yeah. Houston, they're in a great spot. They have all the Phoenix picks. They have all the assets on the roster. They're gonna go whale hunting. They're a great spot for a star. It's a good city. Love the Rockets. They're in a good spot right now. They're in a very good spot right now, and I think they are in a position now where they can make a big move here. We'll get to the Giannis draft in a second. 'Cause I'm sure the Houston Rockets are both on our list of teams going to draft, but this is a very good year. Like I said, they overachieved for me. I thought they'd come back to earth. We saw the signs last year how good they were, and they won 40+ games last year. We thought, okay, well, it's pretty good, but the West is still too damn good. And while they have a lot of good young talent, they'll probably, because of the pecking order of the West, they'll probably go back, come to earth a little bit, and they didn't do that. And in fact, became a 2 seed. So that's a job well done by Ime Udoka there, honestly. So, but I'm gonna give it A+, man, despite the 7-game loss to the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs. So, all right, it is time. It is time now for our Giannis Antetokounmpo feature draft. He is, of course, still a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. There's a lot of rumors about him possibly asking out. The Bucks are in a dire situation. And again, since you are the guest of the show today, I'm gonna let you get the first pick.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna piggyback off what we're just talking about. I mean, number 1 team on my list. Yeah, my number 1 team is Houston.
The little Wi-Fi, I think here.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So my number 1 team, piggybacking on what we're just talking about, was the Rockets. I feel like they, with the amount of picks that they have available to trade, with some of the young guys they have available, with the salary that they've got that they can trade, I mean, they could construct any number of trades to make that work. I think, why would that be enticing for Giannis? I think if he looks at it, Giannis has to look at it, and I guess this should have been like a prelude to the discussion. Like, he has to understand that, like, Milwaukee with no assets, like, they are going to send him to the highest bidder. So they are not in a position to be doing him any favors, because every move they've made over the last 5 years that's put Milwaukee in this spot has been done to appease him. So they can't now send him to someplace else and say, we're going to take 40 cents on the dollar. So they need to go to the highest bidder. And so what's difficult for Giannis is that he has to look at it and say, well, where am I going to go where this team isn't completely gutted by the time they make the trade? So, I mean, if you look at, like, when Durant asked for a trade from the Nets, like they were asking for outlandish prices the first time, because they didn't want to trade him. So that, I mean, there were reports that they were asking for Anthony Edwards and Towns and draft picks, for a guy who's in his 30s. So, I mean, like, obviously you're not getting that, which is why he wasn't traded. But I mean, you have to look at it from Giannis' standpoint, like, okay, I'm going to go to a team. What does that team have left once I get there? Because if his goal is to win a championship, he's got to go somewhere where that's still viable. When I look at it from Houston's standpoint, like, I mean, we talked about Şengün. I mean, that's like a huge piece there. And you would say, well, why would Houston do that? Well, because Giannis would basically be like a de facto center. They would play and occupy a similar part of the floor. And so that would be a big get from Milwaukee. Plus you could trade, Reed Shepherd. You could part with the Suns picks. Like, you could build a package around that. Or you could keep Şengün and trade more picks. And maybe you're trading Jabari Green and Jabari and Smith. And maybe you're keeping Shepherd, but maybe you're trading Landale for salary purposes, and maybe you're trading 6 first-round picks. I mean, there's just a number of different ways that they could construct it to get where they need to go while still keeping Amen Thompson, which I think is what they want to do. Now, is it possible that they say to Milwaukee, like, because Amen Thompson's not a shooter, like, we'll trade you Amen Thompson, but we're not going to part with all this other stuff because of how good Thompson looks? Maybe, I have no idea. I'm not, again, I wouldn't have thought Luka would get traded. So I don't know that anybody is really ever off the board. So, I mean, just because Thompson looks like the next coming of a really good young player, he still has questions around whether he's going to be able to shoot at any point. Already a great defender, great athlete, good passer, all that. But I like the packages that Houston could put together. And I think it would be desirable for Giannis. I know all the rumors that he wants to go to a big market, but like, look, you go to Texas, there's no state income taxes. So, I mean, like, I think there's advantages there. You're going to a team that's already got a good coach in place. They've got flexibility to put this roster in a number of different directions. So I think that for me, that would be like the clear number one from his standpoint, because he also wants to be able to win. So, I mean, if that's why he's leaving, like if he just wants to go to New York or LA and he doesn't care about winning, you could make packages from those teams too. But I mean, I feel like Houston gives him the best chance to go forward, win titles, and retain a lot of what's still there. Well, them and my next pick, but I'll let you go number 2.
Okay, number 2 for me, I'm gonna go. It's not totally surprised, but I'm gonna go early with this one. Give me the Golden State Warriors number 2. Again, you acquired Jimmy Butler in a trade, which has worked out very well so far. Steph Curry obviously isn't, still at the end of his prime, but still really, really good. The Warriors are trying to expand as much out of Curry as possible, and they've been known to be very aggressive to go whale hunting, obviously. Now I say this not knowing their salary situation, what can afford, what cannot afford, but they do have some really good young pieces in that roster they can give away to get a Giannis. You got Kuminga on the roster, you got Pods on the roster, you got Buddy Hield. You got a lot of good pieces that you can get back in a return. Plus, throw some draft picks, of course. Ghost doesn't care. They try to expand this Curry, prime as much as possible, and you add a Giannis to the mix and still keep Draymond, still keep Butler, keep some of those ancillary pieces that matter. I think this team can, with a Giannis at toe, along with Steph Curry, my God, can still compete for a title in the short term. It also fits Giannis' window in terms of like what we believe his prime is. It goes along with Steph Curry and the Warriors right now. So I think it matches. Timeline do match also too, and that's important. So I think the Warriors are a sleeping giant when it comes to this Giannis situation.
Yeah, my question for that, and look, it would be a great fit. I think Giannis. Look, everybody loves Curry and would want to play with him, but I think that Giannis would be at the top of his list, would be playing with Curry. You've got Butler there, like that team would be loaded. I just don't know if they would have like enough ammo to do it. Like Pods would have to go.
Right.
I don't know if Kuminga is desirable. They have, I'm looking at it now. They would have three tradable first-round picks. Actually, no, there might only be 2 tradable first-round picks because they have their 2031, 2029, 27, and 26. So, I guess they could get creative in maybe moving some of those picks around to other teams for other picks. Because of the Stepien rule, they can't trade consecutive picks. So, they'd have to. So, 27 would go And then I guess you'd probably be able to trade, I guess 29. Actually, I don't know if you could. Oh no, they have their own 28 picks, so they could trade 29. So they have 2 tradable picks now. I think on draft night they might have a third. So let's say they could somehow work this so they could trade 3 picks, Podziemski, Kuminga, and maybe a couple other pieces. Is that the best offer? I mean, I'm sure that for Giannis that would be super desirable, and for Golden State it would. To your point, they're not concerned about their picks at this point. Like they're trying to maximize the last 2 or 3 years of Curry playing.
And not only that, they've also shown in the past. I'm not saying they want to do this, but they have shown that the money don't matter. If they see that they're able to bring in a star like this and compete for championships the next couple of years, they have shown willingness to go into the luxury tax and then some, and maybe in second apron, something they wouldn't care about if they know they have the team to compete. So it depends. The team they had with Clay aging was not competing with titles because they got old. That's it. That's simple. Giannis, in a sense, reverses the clock a little bit. So,
and I'm looking at all these trades from like, how is it for Milwaukee? Like, is it palatable for Milwaukee? Any of these moves? Because like I look at Houston, I'm like, okay, that's palatable. I don't know that 3 firsts and Podziemski and Kuminga is palatable. Like I think that they could get more out on the open market. But I mean, from Giannis's perspective, like that would probably be his number 1 destination if he could go anywhere. It'd probably be like the Lakers there, the Knicks. I mean, like those would probably be at the top of his list. I'm just looking at it like, can Milwaukee get what they need out of that deal? And also, once you trade Giannis there, are those first-round picks from Golden State then all that valuable? Is a 27 first valuable if you know that in 2 years Giannis is still going to be there? So I feel like the reason why the Rockets deal would be palatable is because like the picks that you're getting are from Phoenix, and you're expecting Phoenix to be bad. You're expecting them to be a lottery team. So those picks could wind up being top 5 picks.
That's correct.
So again, I'm just looking at it from Milwaukee. From Giannis' standpoint, that makes a ton of sense and would be a good deal and all that.
Yeah. All right. Third pick in the draft. What you got?
I've got the Spurs as the third pick. I think that they have a ton of, much like Houston, they have a lot of flexibility, and they've already got Wembanyama and Fox there. I think that if Milwaukee was presented with Stephon Castle, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and 4 picks or something like that, I think getting a potential franchise point guard, some salary, and then a whole bunch of picks, I think that would be on the table. Why does San Antonio do it? They do it because you've already got Wembanyama there. And again, this is assuming that he's healthy, but you've got Fox in win now mode. You've got Wembanyama, a guy who was basically in win now mode since he got here. So, I mean, I think that that's a win now move, but they've got win now players, and I feel like they could make a package that would be enticing to Milwaukee. And they didn't give up that much when they traded for Fox. So, I mean, they've got a lot of ammo. They've got 2 lottery picks this year for starters. They've got the Hawks pick, which, I mean, that's likely going to be at 14. They've got their own, which is likely going to be at 9 or thereabouts. I mean, it could be 8, it could be 10, something like that. But for the most part, they've got a lot of ammo to trade. So, I mean, if you go to Milwaukee and you say, we're going to give you Stephon Castle and 2 top 14 picks this year, plus, 2 other picks down the road, I think that's probably pretty palatable to Milwaukee. And it makes the Spurs with Giannis and Wembanyama next to each other, the best 1-2 punch in the game. I mean, Giannis wants to play around the rim and be going downhill, and Wembanyama wants to play outside. So you've got 2 guys that are basically 7 feet tall that don't occupy the same spot on the floor. So, I mean, from that standpoint, I think it's a home run for all involved.
Wemby, Giannis. Oh my God!
Now you could say maybe San Antonio doesn't want to short circuit their rebuild and they don't want to part with Castle. But I would say if you're not willing to part with Castle, then you're not going to get him. I mean, you're not going to be able to trade Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, and 4 or 5 firsts for him. I feel like that's not enough. I mean, if I'm Milwaukee, I want the blue chip prospect that any team coming to me has. You don't get to keep, that's why I said Şengün for Houston. It's you don't get to keep blue chip players if you want, the second best player in the world, on your team. So, I mean, that's just not how it goes. So, I mean, That's why I had them 2 on my list. But to me, I think that would make sense for both of them.
All right, for me, 4th pick, I'll go Homer. Obviously, my boys, the Heat. And again, Giannis has been rumored to come to Miami for years now. Like always, every time you hear the Giannis trade machine ideas cooked up by different publications, Miami's always in the mix. So the Heat might get him. The Heat could get him. Pat Rod make a deal because that's what they do. But not for nothing though, He haven't gotten away on other than Butler in quite a while. But again, there's pieces in Miami to work with. If the Heat can somehow keep, it probably impossible, but somehow keep both Bam and Tyler, Bam and Hero. You add Giannis to the mix. Trade some of those pieces. Obviously, you'd probably trade out Wiggins. Be gone. Well, obviously, that deal. Wiggins be gone. You also have probably moving all those ancillary pieces around, the Jovic's in the world, and maybe you throw in a Terry Rozier expiring in there, a couple of draft picks. That team competes in the Eastern Conference, in the top of the Eastern Conference, because you're putting Giannis in a very good position where he's being coached by Eric Spoelstra, who I believe is still the best coach of basketball. Even though you believe he's overrated, though. You said that a couple months ago.
Well, overrated from 1 to 3 or 4. Not saying that he's like
right. No, I'm joking around. But you add Giannis to that mix with Spoelstra coaching and that culture and whatnot, and they'll find ways to put pieces around him, shooters around him. I think that team can compete with the Bostons and the Clevelands of the world in the Eastern Conference. So Miami would be a very viable piece. They could probably make it work too. Also, there's some good pieces there. Maybe you have to throw in Tyler Hero in the deal, possibly. But his stock is a lot higher now than it was 2 years ago. So we'll see. But they do have pieces to make some noise.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and they were on my list too. The trade that I had, Bam has to go in the deal, in my opinion.
Oh, Bam, right.
Yeah, first of all, they occupy basically the same space. So I mean, I don't even know how the spacing would work if those 2 guys are on the team together. And there's not like this huge age disparity where it's like, oh, I'm trading like a 21-year-old Bam for a 35-year-old Giannis. I mean, like they're within a couple of years of each other. So I mean, I feel like depending on what Milwaukee's goals are, I mean, if they look at it and say, we don't have our own 1st-round picks, we have to get players to stay competitive, because it's not like we can tank, because it's not like we can go into next year's lottery and be like, oh, we're just going to tank for Darren Peterson or AJ DeBonsa or the Boozer twins or whomever. They don't have that luxury. So I mean, if they want competitive players, I feel like of all the teams that I mentioned, Bam, some salary filler, and 3 firsts are probably, that's probably pretty good. And then you can say, okay, we have Tyler Hero to score, we have Giannis, to play both ends of the floor, and then you can still have some pieces around them. I don't know that it's like the best offer that Milwaukee could get, but I mean, I feel like Miami could make an offer that's representative. So,
yeah. All right. Round 5. 5th pick,
okay.
3rd round.
Yes. Yeah. So my next pick is New Orleans.
Pelicans. Ooh, that's
the Pelicans, mainly because they have Milwaukee's picks. So I mean, like if Milwaukee wants to tank next year, the only way to do that would be to get their own picks back. I believe that it's actually a swap next year, but I mean, if New Orleans finishes with the 8th pick, and they have the right to swap. So I mean, basically, whatever the lower pick is, that's where Milwaukee will wind up, whether it's 12 or whether it's 2. I mean, like they don't have control over their first next year. From the Drew Holiday trade, there's still some outstanding picks. So I mean, if they want to do what Washington's doing, do what Brooklyn did or Utah did or any of those teams, that would be the play, because now you can go into a tank and know that there's going to be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Also, they could also move Zion in the trade, New Orleans. So I mean, we've heard all these rumors about him being moved. Does Zion, even with his injury history and a couple picks, does Milwaukee look at that and say, we'll take a gamble on Zion, either to rehabilitate him and package him elsewhere and get even more picks while we tank, or it can help them stay competitive, and maybe they'll be willing to take less because they're getting their own picks back. I feel like they have some optionality there. And the Pelicans have a lot of guys that they can move in addition to Zion. So I don't know what their appetite is for competing right away. I mean, and look, a lot's going to depend on their lottery pick this year. I mean, New Orleans could, for all we know, could win the draft and get Cooper Flagg. And so do you then look at it and say, okay, we want Cooper Flagg to play alongside Giannis, and we also have Herb Jones and Jordan Hawkins and Trey Murphy and guys like that, CJ McCollum and whomever. So I guess a lot will depend in a situation like this of where New Orleans falls in the draft lottery, which will be coming up on Monday.
But wouldn't Zion be a reason Giannis would want to go there in the first place?
Well, they both occupy the same spot on the floor, and either one.
That's true.
And also, right. I feel like New Orleans just might be over, the Zion experiment. And
I think they already are over it. I think they already are over it.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, you could justify for Milwaukee, like, okay, here's a guy that if he's healthy, we'll sell some tickets. People, still be interested in watching us play. But even if he's not playing, we'll have our pick back at least. So we guard ourselves against missing out on a top 3 or 4 pick or whatever it is next year. And I mean, you can say that they're shooting around him. I mean, even if it's just Zion, I mean, I know that there's salary cap things that have to work out, but I mean, you have McCollum, he can shoot. You have Trey Murphy, who's a good young player who can shoot. Herb Jones is a good defender. And look, maybe some of those guys would have to go on the deal too, but I feel like there are still pieces on that roster that would be enticing enough for him, and they have a lot of draft picks, New Orleans, to move. So, it's just a thought because of moving Zion, because they have their picks, just like Portland has some future picks of Milwaukee's too. So, I mean, like you have to look at teams that if they want to tank, if they can give them their own picks back.
Right. All right. For the 6th pick in the draft, a little bit of surprise here. But we did mention early in the podcast about teams that could be a piece away. I'm going to go Orlando, the Magic. They still got to pay Banchero, which I'm sure he'll be getting his big money probably this summer, most likely. Looking at the salaries here, what pieces they can move. I mean, I'm not saying you have to move Franz Wagner, but he's due $38 million starting next year. You got Jalen Suggs, who's getting $35 million next year as well. So you may have to move one of those 2 big pieces to make that work salary wise, plus some pieces and some draft picks. I don't think the Magic will do this, obviously, because it's not what they do normally. They don't really go whale hunting, mainly because most players don't really want to play Orlando, I think. Mm-hmm. They'd rather go further south to Miami as opposed to that. But I mention Orlando because of the fact that they're in a position where they're just a piece away from competing. You add a Giannis to this roster right now, if you can keep at least most of the core pieces around them, the Banchero and maybe even either Suggs and or Wagner, all of a sudden now you're right there in the Eastern Conference competing with Cleveland, Boston, and whatnot. So I think Orlando is viable. I think also too with Boston's situation with possibly them, I think Boston, if they lose in the playoffs this year, for example, I think there's a very possibility they're going to not break up the team completely, but because of where the salaries are at now and the new ownership group, they're going to probably dump off either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, but probably Jaylen Brown most likely. I've got to choose. That's another whale could be available in trade this summer. I think that could be a possibility. So Orlando, again, you get a piece, you're in the mix. Your team away, you're a piece away. So I think Orlando, if they choose to go whale hunting, they could be a dark horse for Giannis.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, I think Wagner, like he signed an extension. I want to say it was last summer.
Yeah, it kicks in next year.
Yeah, it kicks in this summer, I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that would be the headliner, and then if you're moving a couple other pieces around that, to make the salary work. I mean, maybe you're trading. Jalen Suggs along with it. You might need to move like a Jonathan Isaac or Caldwell Pope or, just stuff like that to make it work. I've also, like, when I'm looking at the trade machine, I'm also looking at, like, is there a trade that Milwaukee would do where, like, they can trade Giannis and Kyle Kuzma just to get off his money?
Well, Kuzma's contract is so sweet. I think teams will take it on without a problem.
Yeah, I guess. But if you're tanking, like, what, like, or if Giannis isn't there, like what good is having Kuzma, like unless you're tanking. So I mean, like I don't know like why either side would want to be doing business together.
I'm sorry, go ahead. What I would do if I'm Milwaukee, I would keep Kuzma. If I'm tanking, I keep Kuzma. Let Kuzma play part of the season, raise his value more. Then contenders can poach at him and get some more pieces back for him.
Yeah, and you could very well do that. I mean, my next team, I guess I'll do the segue. So I mean, like
Number
I had
7?
the Knicks. Yeah. So I have the Knicks as a team, and I mean, one of the frameworks that I looked at was like Karl Anthony Towns is obviously the headliner going back. But I mean, if you're taking on Kuzma as well, if they want to get rid of him, you could then expand that deal to be like Towns, Josh Hart, Miles McBride, and let's say 2 picks, because I guess on draft night they'll probably have another pick that they can move. So, is that palatable for Milwaukee if they're trying to stay competitive? Like if they're not getting their first round pick back from New Orleans and they have no incentive to go into a tank, you're not going to get a better player probably than Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, we talked about it with the Luka trade. I mean, the fact that Davis and Luka were both all-pro players swapped for each other, like that hadn't happened before. So, I mean, if you're Milwaukee and you want to stay competitive and you don't want the building to be 3/4 empty, if you make a trade like that, you could, still be representative. I know that, the rumor's always been that he's had an affinity for New York. I mean, like the Nets are on my list too. I don't know if we'll get to them in the draft here.
We'll see. We got 3 more picks to go.
But I feel like, if he wants to win titles and play in a big city, right now the Knicks are more equipped to do that, because even if you make that trade, you'll still have Anunoby, Brunson, Bridges, and then Giannis. Like that's pretty good. So I mean, like if you're looking at it from a standpoint of where does Giannis go, that the team isn't getting gutted, if you're kind of just swapping Towns for Giannis and then adding pieces around it, maybe that's palatable for Milwaukee. I don't know. It depends on what the other offers are.
The Knicks are on my list, but it depends. To me, it was all determined about how this playoff run went.
Oh, of course.
Obviously, right now they're up 2-0 against Boston. If they beat Boston, they get to the conference finals, and they make noise there as well too. There's no way they move Cat. There's no way they move that core at this point now. Not saying they wouldn't be interested in Giannis, but it'd be less enticing to go after a guy. And Mikal Bridges plays well. Obviously, they're gonna have a hard time partnering with those pieces unless they still want to break it up. I don't know.
I look at Towns and I'm like, he is like the weak link on their defense. So I mean, like he's still going to put up, like during the regular season, he's going to give you 25 and 12. He had a great game last night. Like, I mean, he can score and he can play. It's not like he's a bad player, but I'm just saying, like defensively, I feel like he's limited to the point where
I agree with you on that for the record.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
I feel like for the Knicks, even if they lose in 5 in the finals to OKC, they still might look at it and say, we want to win a title and we're still a piece away. And the only way to get that piece is to part with Towns. I don't know if they'll be sentimental from that standpoint. If anything, a finals run would only boost Towns' trade value in terms of
this is very true.
Their willingness to make a move, or Milwaukee's willingness to make a move.
Although I can't argue, I feel weird saying this because Giannis is by far the better player, but because of Giannis' limitations on offense, I feel like his value is going to shrink much faster than say Cat, because Cat can still have the outside game to rely on. So you may get more productive years depending on the pieces around him with Cat in the lineup as opposed to Giannis, just because of what they present as players. I am no way sitting there saying that Cat is better than Giannis. It's not even close. It's Giannis with a bullet. I'm just saying that timelines. You might get, so Cat's 28 years old, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
You might get 4 to 5, even 6 productive years of Cat because of what he presents on offense, whereas you might get only, maybe because of the way he plays, 2 to 3 from Giannis. Unless Giannis expands his game, of course, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my concern with a lot of these trades. Like if you're the Nets, for example, trading for Giannis, it's like, okay, well, since you don't have any players they want, you're probably you'd have to part with your lottery pick this year. I mean, that's like a given, no matter where it lands.
Oh, yes, without question.
Yes, but I mean, their fans are looking at it like, because I used to cover the Nets. I follow a lot of people like that are fans of the team, and we've conversed back and forth. And it's like, oh, well, if we can make this trade without giving up the pick, and it's like, that's the only blue chip.
Bro, you're not getting a phone call.
Yeah.
Draft pick. So what are we doing?
Yeah. So you have to give up that pick, and then you're still giving up 4 or 5 picks in addition to that. So I mean, I think so they've got 15 firsts. I think 9 tradable firsts with the stepping rule. I think that was the number that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's say that for some reason Milwaukee's like, okay, you don't have to give us that pick. Let's say it's the 4th pick. You don't have to give us the 4th pick. We'll take 8 other first round picks for it. At that point, how are you then building out your roster? So I mean, and again, this is the conversation that goes for a lot of these teams, and which it gets a little tougher as you go down the list. Like, how are these teams like building around Giannis if they have to give up most of their assets to acquire him? And that's why, like, even if you look at a team like San Antonio, does it make sense for them to give up Castle and Vassell and 4 or 5 firsts? Because it's like, now you're locked into your team, and if one of those guys gets hurt, I mean, like, I just don't know that like big threes are that easy to do anymore with the second apron system.
Exactly.
Because like basically what OKC has done like should be the gold standard. Like, you've got Shea, who's the star. You've got Jalen Williams, who's making money. Like, Chet Holmgren is still on a good deal. But I don't know if the system is designed for you to be able to just put 3 stars together and throw caution to the wind.
Let those same fans know this is not 2014 when you got Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and company. Those days are over. Okay, we're in a new era now. Get over it. All right. I don't mean. I'm mean. Oh well. Round 4. Yeah, round 4. 8th pick of the draft. I'm gonna take another team I mentioned earlier in the podcast, the Clippers. Again, another team that's a piece. I guess we could say needs one more piece, and I guess in the case of the Clippers, it's more of an insurance policy for Kawhi because again, everything worked out for the Clippers. James Harden's reliable in terms of playing games during the regular season, and he held the fort down with Zubac and company, and they got to the 4th seed and whatnot. And Kawhi got healthy just in the nick of time and stayed healthy in the playoffs, and then they ran into the brick wall, the Denver Nuggets, to Game 7. Having said all that, you can't guarantee it's going to happen again. In fact, I would probably guarantee that's not going to happen again next year or beyond. So the idea, the priority should be now is taking this core and giving it the best shot to win a title as soon as possible. Well, you can do that with. I mean, obviously you can bring in Kevin Durant, for example, and that will work out. It'll be cheaper too, probably than Giannis. But Giannis, what Giannis would do for you is that Giannis would reverse the window a little bit for you guys. We'll actually expand the window just a little bit, and he fits the timeline as well too with his play and whatnot, and you give yourselves pretty much a nice 2-3 year window tops to win a title with this core. I don't think that will work out ultimately because I don't see a scenario where they may try to go after him, but I think the easy fix for them is probably them to go after Durant, who's cheaper. And then if it doesn't work in 2 years, they just blow it up and be done with it. You know what I mean? So, but I will say the Clippers, of course, where they're at as a franchise and where they're at, going into the summer, you can't count them out in the Giannis sweepstakes. So,
yeah, just in terms of looking at who they'd have to give up. I mean,
contracts. Let's look at it.
Yeah, if you don't want to give up, Kawhi, obviously, like you're probably looking at Powell and Zubac, and I'm not even 100% sure what picks they have. So I mean, like, because they've got a couple picks going to Philly as part of the Harden trade. So I mean that's going to complicate things. Let me pull it up here. So I mean, if you're trading Giannis, Powell makes 20. Zubac, I mean, what Zubac made this year,
18. I mean, he makes 18. He made 11 this year. He'll make 18-1 next year. Zubac actually is in a very good spot. Zubac has a very good value contract right now. If what we saw this year is a sign of things to come for him, he might, after Jalen Brunson, have the best value contract in basketball because he's 18-1 next year, 19-5, and then 29.
So I mean, under the trade machine, I mean, Giannis for Norman Powell, Bogdanovich, and Zubac would work money wise. Now that I think is going to change once like the new like league year starts and like extensions kick in. So like Giannis might be making more than the 49 he's listed at here. I think he's going to be making like 55 or something.
But I mean, they'll find a number somewhere to match it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if you can trade 2 firsts, is Powell and Zubac and Bogdanovich, like, is that palatable? I guess if you're trying to still compete, I guess it's palatable. It's probably not palatable if you're trying to rip it down to the studs. So, but I mean, it's not like they don't have the salaries to do it. It's just, I'd imagine that Milwaukee will get a better deal elsewhere.
Yeah. Giannis will fit the Kawhi timeline. Also, Kawhi has guaranteed 2 more years in his contract. James Harden has a player option this summer. At $36 million. He's probably going to opt out.
Yeah, I mean, if he
because
opts out,
he's still good enough to get he can still fetch $30 million a year, even for 2 years, which is almost doubles the salary which you would get in an option year. So.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, like for guys opting out is like you're probably opting out just to re-sign a bigger deal with your current team. It's like the Nets are really the only team that has like material salary cap space. So, I mean, he's not going back there, Harden. I mean, so if he's not going back there, right. he's staying in LA, and I don't know like what their impetus is to make that move.
Because Harden, we all talk about Harden melts down, and obviously we had the conversation about him and Wade, and we know where we stand on that one. James Harden's value right now is, and this is where this is why I feel bad making fun of Harden, because in October and April, he's very reliable, and you kind of need that. But this team, you need that. You need that core guy to hold the fort down. Kawhi's going to miss at least half the year, no matter what. So Harden playing 70+ games a year becomes valuable, and he did his job this year, and he made on my Earnest Speaking awards. He made my my number 3 All NBA team this year because of that, and the Clippers are good this year, and kudos to him. Obviously, he melted down in the playoffs, but you still the value of Harden during the 82-game sample, and this is why I think he'll still opt out and get a new contract, get a new 2-3 year deal with the Clippers. So, they can make it work. Obviously, do I see it happening? No, but he does fit the Kawhi timeline. And the possible James Harden new timeline once they re-sign him. So that's where I'm at on that one. Okay. All right, your last pick, sir.
Yeah. So my last pick. I mean, I want to put OKC on this list, but I just think that they're too good that they're not going to blow up anything that they've got going on now.
I apologize.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I wanted to go OKC in this draft just because they've got so many assets and players that they could move, but I just feel like they're so deep and they have so many assets.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I get you fine.
Okay. But yes, yeah. So I wanted to put OKC on the list, but just given the fact that they're a favorite to win the title this year, and I don't see them making like a short, like a win now move that's going to deter them from being competitive in 3 years, 5 years, anything like that. I passed on them. So I have Atlanta as my last team. I feel like they can trade Jalen Johnson, Okongwu, and a couple picks. And both Johnson and Okongwu I would imagine, are pretty attractive to Milwaukee, given that Johnson was a borderline all-star before he got hurt. And Okongwu, played great in the play-in. So, he in the play-in had 28 in his final game against Miami. He was 5 of 10 shooting in the game against Orlando. So, he's a pretty solid player. He's still 24 years old. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. You're good. Keep talking. You're good.
Okay. Yeah.
Who did you draft, by the way? Who did you draft?
Oh, Atlanta.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much of that was recorded, but like with Jalen Johnson, with Okongwu, and maybe even a couple picks, you could make the argument that those are 2 young players that are ready to compete now, that keeps them competitive while still giving them a runway for the future. Jalen Johnson was, discussed as an all-star player, caliber player before he got hurt. Okongwu played great against Miami in the play-in. he's still 24 years old. So, you're getting 2 guys in their early to mid-20s who can give you great production, who are replacing one guy. And then if you're getting, a pick or 2 with that, why would Atlanta do it? You pair Giannis with Trae Young. You still have Ricochet. You have Dyson Daniels, who won Defensive Player of the Year. Or not Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, excuse me. So I feel like they still have pieces around those guys, that it's not like they're emptying everything to do it. And they also made a management change right after the season, which makes you wonder if like they made a change to go out and make a move. I wouldn't bet on this. I would consider it a long shot, but just saying that they have the pieces if they so chose to do it.
That's a dark horse. Atlanta's always a team that's kind of like, again, like I call them the purgatory team. That's not quite bad, obviously not quite good. They had a moment a couple years ago when it went to the conference finals against Milwaukee, but otherwise they're that team that's kind of in purgatory. We're like, okay, well, do you either try to get a whale and build around Trae Young, or do you trade Trae Young and start fresh? I hate to be the Hawks, unfortunately. And that's definitely an underrated situation there. I don't think it will ever happen though, but I'm just
looking at it from the pieces that Atlanta has available to them. I think they have pieces that would be attractive to Milwaukee. And if you're pairing Trae Young with Giannis, like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Then you could still keep a couple of the defensive-minded players that are on their team. So I just feel like there's a package that could be made there. Not saying that Atlanta wants to do it, not saying it would even be enough for Milwaukee. Just saying, not that Giannis would even want to play in Atlanta, but just that I feel like there's a package that exists that in theory could be attractive.
Right. All right, my last pick of the draft here. I'm gonna go Lakers, but I'm also curious if that Luka Giannis could actually fit. Now I say that even though LeBron and Luka surprisingly was pretty decent this year, wasn't a bad fit actually. Two guys who are considered ball dominant, but they made it work in that little stretch though. But it's giving a little confidence that maybe a Giannis Luka situation could actually work. The problem is with the Lakers though, for them to do this, you probably have to give up Austin Reeves off the rip. Definitely Austin Reeves gonna be off the gone. Now getting a Giannis would be more effective, especially to not so much this year, but the year after when LeBron goes. I'm convinced LeBron retires this year. After this year, I think this will be LeBron's last year in the NBA coming up. So you'll have that piece already in tow. So it's LeBron's last shot. It'll be the last shot, last dance, last chance for LeBron to get a fifth ring. You bring in Giannis. You have the big three there. You eat that for 1 year. The Lakers can afford it. They'll figure a way out. They'll figure all that out. I can see a scenario where Giannis is for 1 year playing with a big three of Luka, LeBron, and Giannis when LeBron retires. That's my prediction. LeBron will announce retirement over the summer, and then he'll play 1 more year, and that's it. So that's why I think Giannis may be more attractive, because you're going to have that piece now once LeBron's gone in place to essentially replace LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, the deal would be, and I'm looking at it on the trade machine now, Hachimura, Reeves, Connect.
Absolutely.
And then you probably need to use Finney-Smith. Oh, I guess he'd have to opt in. I think he's got a player option. So, I mean, that'd be 4 guys for Giannis. And then to your point, that would allow you to have Luka, LeBron, and Giannis. I guess my question is, are they then having to give up so much that there's not enough to build out a roster outside of those 3 guys? Because, I mean, you're going to have to send any picks that you have available to you, too. So, I mean, that might...
Well, you'll have LeBron... Well, that'll be a situation that'll be relieved after next year, because LeBron... If my prediction goes where it goes, LeBron's $52 million will come off the books after next season. Yeah. So you'll have that space there.
True.
So you're looking at I only say big three for 1 year. It's a 1 year big three thing, because LeBron will retire and then that's it.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to add pieces beyond that going forward. There's also some. Well, obviously you trade Finney-Smith, you trade Rui, you trade what's the other one you said?
I had Hachimura, Finney-Smith, Reeves, and Connect.
Reeves, right, and Connect, right, and probably a pick or two to make that.
Yeah, and probably any picks that LA has available to them. So on draft night, if they could trade 2 picks, it'd be 2 picks. If it's 3 picks, it'll be 3 picks. It would be whatever they've got.
But they'll get guys too. Also, they'll get guys. You'll also have like after next season, the all-in year, you'll have Gabe Vincent's $11 million off the books. You'll have all these guys. There aren't really many guys really are on extensions right now, other than Jared Vanderbilt. So there's wiggle room here to work around the team beyond next year. I'm saying this big three will be a 1 year thing. That's it. You go all in for 1 year, try to get LeBron another title, his final year. They'll make a shit ton of money. So they could eat the cost of that one, because they'll make a shit ton of money to make up for the second April that year. So I can't count out the Lakers, because they always, no matter what season it is, no matter what time it is, the CBA looks like, they always go well hunting. So I think the Lakers are actually a very viable possibility for the Lakers. So
yeah. I mean, that's more realistic than Atlanta. I just think Atlanta's got a much better package to offer that Milwaukee would want. But I mean, there is a way to make the numbers work. If if Giannis says I only want to play with the Lakers, there's a package there. I just don't know that that's the package that Milwaukee would want. But there are numbers that can be added up that do make it work. So, and obviously it would make a lot of sense to have Luka and Giannis on the same team.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's it for me. Anything else on the thing you want to add? We went an hour and 40 minutes. Not bad, actually.
Yeah, no, just looking forward to the continued playoffs and seeing how some of this plays out. Because I mean, again, in regards to Giannis or any of these players, how these teams finish up the season is going to determine whether or not they're a viable destination for some of these players. So, I mean, we don't really know how a lot of this is going to play out until the draft lottery takes place, until some of these teams get knocked out. I mean, to your point, if the Knicks go to the finals, not that I'm predicting that, but I mean, does that change how they would build a team had they lost to Detroit? I'd imagine it does. So, so we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Right. I mean, follow him on Twitter, or X, we call it, at G Hrinya. That's GHRINYA NBA on X. Of course, the podcast, Earnestly Podcast, across all podcast catchers. You can follow it, especially on social media. Earnestly Pod on both TikTok and Instagram, as well as YouTube, especially, guys. We are now up to 414 subscribers this morning. Good job, guys. Continue to subscribe to the show. And enjoy us in the NBA playoffs, and we will talk to you guys soon.